annually going forward, so very supportive of lithium demand, in particular, given the dominance of LFP batteries in that sector. But also, things like battery swapping, which will be integral to adoption of electrification, for example, in 2- and 3-wheelers in countries like Indonesia, also will be driving demand for batteries. So that translates through into robust battery raw material demand over the next decade and beyond. So now, just touching on copper, because it wasn't shown on the previous chart. Again, a raw material which Indonesia produces and has potential to grow its market in. Again, electric vehicles really show a lot of strength in terms of dominating energy transition demand, but also essential for many types of renewable energy systems. So again, fairly impressive CAGRs for each of those markets over the next decade based on our analysis. I couldn't really talk about battery raw materials without touching on the fact that we have seen this fairly continuous decline in prices over the last 2 years. It's been quite variable, but certainly a downward trend across all of these markets. In our view, this is very much an oversupply story. We're still waiting for demand to catch up and for some of these markets to balance. It's exacerbated, obviously, by the scale at which China has built out its capacity in many of these markets and the excess capacity that exists within the Chinese supply chain, both domestically and in terms of its investments overseas. But I'm going to touch on the detailed dynamics and outlook for each of these markets in turn in the subsequent part of the presentation. So now, moving on to focus on some of these individual markets. Nickel, a key raw material for Indonesia, obviously. So over the next decade, demand growth within nickel is very much going to be driven by the battery market and associated EV sector. As you can see, again, we're forecasting very impressive annual growth rates in excess of 19% there for the primary nickel demand from the battery sector. And you can see how that contrasts with this traditional stainless steel sector, which, whilst remaining the mainstay of volume, is going to continue to grow at a much slower rate. In terms of our view on the market, so my team produces analysis, but